And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, today we're taking a look at Brew Crafters from Dice Hate Me Games. This is, I think, the most complex and complicated and big game that Dice Hate Me Games has put out. They mostly put out small, light games. And as a teetotaler, I'm not necessarily as interested in the theme of this game, but I heard it was slightly like Agricola, which is a game I enjoyed very much, and the idea of processing things and worker placement sounded very intriguing to me. And then when I opened the game, there was 600 billion pieces, maybe not that many, but there's certainly a lot inside this box. Let's take a look. There's a lot going on in this game, so I'm not going to give you a full run-through, but give you some concepts so you can basically understand what the point of the game is. In each game, there's going to be 9 different drinks that you're trying to make. These 3 are always going to be here: Simply Stout, Everyday Ale, and Pleasantly Porter. Then you'll have 2 more Porters, 2 more Ales, and 2 more Stouts. And the game comes with really a whole ton of different ones that you can play that need different types of resources. You'll notice on the side of each of these there are different resources. There are the basic ingredients that you need, like malt, hops, and yeast, and then some of them also need spices, coffee, and fruit. Those are the different types of resources that are needed. Those are called basically the advanced things. The other ones are your basic ingredients. And then there are little tokens. I mean, really, there are tons of tokens that match each of these. And what you're going to be trying to do is you're going to be trying to produce, let's say, for example, cherry porter. To produce that, you're going to need 4, 2, 1, 3 fruit. And then once you produce one of them, it's going to be worth 7 points at the end of the game. Much of the game is going to revolve around these 4 boards here. There's one board here which keeps track of the years and the different seasons. And this is basically the turns of the game. There's essentially 12 turns to the game, but different things will happen based on the seasons. At the end of each winter season, you have to pay money for each person that you have. If you can't pay money, then you'll take loans, which are basically just worth negative points at the end of the game. You'll pay money for workers that you have. You'll pay money for buildings that you have. Different things will cost money. There's also, in the spring, you can plant. In the fall, you can pull, harvest resources. And there are other things that may affect specific seasons. Other than that, though, in each season you're going to be using these boards here. Each player starts with these 2 market action meeples, and they'll be placing these on spaces to take maybe the goods from that space. So if I go here, I take the goods that are at this one, or over here I get this one. But if no one takes it, at the beginning of the next turn, you'll add more to each of these spaces. While some of them here, you simply take 2 different resources. Here you get one of the advanced ingredients and then maybe 1 of the hops and whatever, So there's different things other than let you do special things. For example, take the start player token or get money. Some of them give you money. Others allow you to hire skilled workers. And there's different things that you can do. After that, players have another type of worker. This is a different type of worker that's going to take a brewery action. And they're going to be able, this is where you will brew your beers if you have the right ingredients, or do different things. And you'll notice this has $ on it because they will cost you money in winter. And while you start with one of them, you can hire up to 2 more over the course of the game after you've done a certain number of beers. There's also a collaboration thing here if you're playing with more than 3 players, where players can put ingredients together to essentially make a beer together, and then you will share in the points and money from making that beer. Some of the spaces let you hire specialty workers, which will cost you money each year, but also can give you a special ability. Like maybe, for example, with this, whenever you get yeast from market action space, you also take an equal number of malt. So taking these guys at the beginning of the game or at some point during the game will give you special abilities as the game goes by. There's also partnerships that you can get that let you convert some of the ingredients into other ingredients. Each player has their own board, and this is where most of your stuff's going to be happening. You have a storehouse where you can put more ingredients, and at the end of each turn you'll be able to build more buildings, areas onto this. Maybe I want to build another storehouse or an oak barrel house, or maybe I want to build basically a farm out here where I can plant things. Or, there's all different types of buildings. A yeast lab I can fit in here. There's a spot for each of these. But the more buildings you build, the more that money you're going to have to pay at the end of each winter, but the more abilities you'll have. Like I said, you'll be storing your ingredients here. You have only 12 that you can initially store. So you want to spend those to eventually brew beers. And once you brew the different beers, you'll be moving them slowly through this thing until you get out here where you'll sell them. Once you sell them, they'll be worth points at the end of the game, but you're also going to get money for selling those. And the first person to sell them gets bonuses for being the first person to basically brew that type of beer. Players also have the opportunity to do research here. Each player is going to start with cubes of their color here, and essentially the basic ingredients, operations, brewing, and advanced ingredients. And on each of these, you'll be able to move them up. And so when you move this one up, you get a basic ingredient. But here at the start of each winter, you get 3 basic ingredients. And you keep going up, and some of these give you points. In this game, it's called rep. Like here, 1 rep for every 2 batches brewed. So if you've brewed a lot of batches of beer, you'll get more points at the end of the game. Also, if you want to, this is the basic lab. Everyone can use these. They're the same. But you can also play with an advanced lab on the back, which has different ones. It's a little asymmetrical, so different people have different special abilities. And moving on these special abilities can really help you as the game progresses. And that's basically the concepts of the game. There's a lot going on, and it's going to figure out the best combinations and buildings and research and things and beers. But at the end of your final turn, you're going to score points, and you'll get points. Most of your points will come from the different beers that you've brewed, but also the first one to brew some beers, special points that some of the technologies will give you, and so on. And whoever has the most points is the winner of the game. As you can see, there are many similarities to the game Agricola, where you're placing workers, getting resources, and getting points, where you have to pay at the end of, instead of feeding your people, you're paying a certain amount of money at the end of each winter. And there's several different things going on, but it does have a very different feel. I wouldn't say that, oh, this game is just an Agricola ripoff. It's not at all. And in fact, I think that it's one of those games you can say, hey, if you like one, you'll probably like the other. Now, my first play of this, I was a little, I don't know. I was thought, it's a very difficult game. And I think one of the things for sure on this game is that there is a very steep learning curve to it. If you play expert players in your first turn, you're going to get pummeled, not because they're so much better than you, but you really don't know what's going on. This game offers so many options, and you honestly cannot do them all. There's all those buildings to build. Should you hire the extra workers? What technology should you do? You know, that's difficult to figure out. And so I think you're going to probably fumble through your first game. And that's not a bad thing against this game. That just means that there's a lot of depth in here to find. The ideas, I guess I should start out by saying some of the negatives of the game for me. First of all, I thought the setup time was amazingly long. There are so many pieces in the game, and I wish maybe there was a better way to sort out, like, for example, the beers, because those beers, there's like a huge pile, and it takes a long time to hunt down all the different tokens for the ones that you're doing. I mean, we're talking a long time to set this game up. On the flip side, on the positive side, there is so much variety. There are so many different specialty workers. There's beers and different things. You'll probably never play the same game twice, and that's excellent. There are even these special spaces, extra spaces that you can add to the board for different types of action spaces that you can add to the board for a different kind of experience. And the game scales really well too, based on the number of players. So those are the positives to counter that. I did mention that the game was very difficult. Difficult is a hard word, but I mean, you will often feel like, oh, I got to get this done. I don't know what to do here. I need money. But I did find that as games progress, that feeling is not nearly so bad. Once you kind of know what to do and where to go, that's not a problem. It does make the spaces that you are placing the workers on highly contested. You are going to be fighting over these spaces, and many of these games, after a while, there's plenty of resources. I've never felt that in this game, even to the end, everyone was fighting over all the different resources. And if you don't start your own farm or get your own technology up, you can find yourself missing vital resources near the end of the game to produce the beers that you want. Again, though, that's something you learn as the game goes by. And I personally prefer playing with the extra action spaces, if only to give just a slight bit more breathing room so the competition isn't quite so fierce. This game has those additional workers you can buy. In most games, that's an automatic given. You get the extra workers. Here, not quite so much. I think you most definitely should get one extra one, but to get both, I'm not sure on that. The whole economy, everything is very interesting, and it works together very well. If there's one thing I think might be a problem with the game, although people can argue this is a minor problem, are those specialty workers. They're really good. And whoever goes first in the game, I mean, as the game progresses, you can fight over who gets turn order. That's fine. But in the first turn, somebody can grab essentially the best of those specialty workers, the one that will help them out the most, which gives a very high advantage to turn order. So I'm not so sure about that. But other than that, I think any problems where I was like, oh, this doesn't seem like it's very good, or this seems overpowered, I think all of those were due to me, my first game, just not knowing what was going on. And so if you listen to my podcast review of this, I was probably a little bit more harder on the game than I would be now. I don't know that this is one I would want to play for me all the time, because it is tough. I'm going to get in, and there's a lot going on, and it's mind crunchy, and I mean, it works together. The theme is very strong, and there's so much going on. So when I get into this, we're going to get into this, So I like that, but I don't know that I want it all the time, and I prefer games that are maybe a bit more freeing and have more options, and oh, you took that spot, I guess I'll go here instead. This one, it's like, you took that spot, I want to flip the table, but I won't, because I got to figure out a better way to do it. I think this game is going to be liked by a lot of people. All right, I think some folks won't care for it as much, if only because of the constant stress I think that the game puts upon you. But others are going to find this to be one of the best worker placement / Euro games that they've ever played. And I really think it's an excellent design. It's really well done. Maybe not necessarily my cup of tea all the time, but when I do play it, I will do better at it than I did the last time, and I like that. I can see improvement as I play each time, and it does give me a huge variety of options, and when I'm done with it, I feel like I played a truly well-designed game. Certainly one that people should check out, Brew Crafters. Dice Tower Judgment, approved!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
The door!